Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Self-Publishing Mastery Talks. I'm AG Bilig and I'm excited to bring up today a very interesting topic because self-publishing is a business. It is a business, and I will always remind you that. And if you want to be successful in self-publishing with self-publishing books, then you need to behave like a business person. It might seem like a little bit complicated or overwhelming, but it is what it is. And that's why, because self publishing is a business, as much as it is an art of creation and an art of love. But that's why today I brought a very special guest. His name is Cody Blocker. He's the founder of the Ghostwriter Summit promo, and he's also a ghostwriter and a writing business coach. Welcome, Cody. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It might not, it might people who are watching might not understand why we are talking about ghostwriting when we are talking about self-publishing, but you are here to enlighten us and show how ghostwriting can be such a great asset when you decide to go the self-publishing route. But before we delve into that, I want you to tell us how did you get into ghostwriting and how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, I've been writing for a long time, but ghostwriting is pretty recent for me. I started ghostwriting about 3 years ago, and in the past 2 years is where I really had a success with it. It took me a year to kind of figure
Mhm.
things out, and it took me a little while, to make all the mistakes and learn what I was doing. But the reason I had self-published one of my books, and then I was trying to hire an editor. And so I just was Googling around and was searching for how to hire an editor and that sort of thing. And I ended up getting connected with Upwork, the freelance
Yeah.
site of Upwork. And I wasn't really familiar with that before, but I jumped on there. I hired my editor and he edited my book and it all went fine. And then it was later, so I had a pretty good experience with this Upwork platform. And then it was after that I realized that not only could I hire people on Upwork, but I could sell my services on Upwork.
Right.
And I found out that there was a whole group of people on there that are hiring ghostwriters, and they were posting jobs, saying, "Hey, I need this book. It's a 50,000 word science fiction book or 100,000 word fantasy book, and I need to hire someone to write it." And I thought, well, boy, I could do that. I've written books, and so I just kind of jumped in, and it took me a little while to land some jobs, but I just found it. I just found this huge group of people that were hiring people to write, and I loved writing. And at the time, I wasn't making a lot of money with my books.
Mhm.
Like, as we know in the self-publishing space, it takes a while. You have to build that audience and to have the book sales come in like you wanted. It takes time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a long game, and you just got to keep writing. But while that was happening, I thought, well, I could do this job on the side, and I could still write, and I could get
Mhm.
credit for my writing, and I could get paid right away. I didn't have to wait for the book
Yeah.
to sell. So, and the other thing that was attractive to me about it is when I ghostwrite or when I would write a book, then I would give that, first draft, or I would give it to my client, or I would give it to an editor, and we would work with an editor, and they would give me all this editorial feedback, fix
Uh-huh.
this, fix that. So not only was I getting paid to write, which was awesome, but I was getting paid to get this professional level feedback from editors
Wow.
on how to improve my writing. So that was kind of how I got started. And once I saw those benefits, man, I just jumped into it. So I still write my own books, but I also have my ghostwriting business. Yeah.
Wow, this is so amazing. Exactly, because I think that like in everything else, the more you get to practice something, including writing, the better you get. And as
Yeah.
you said, when you have that professional feedback, then you learn so much from it by being a ghostwriter. Now,
Yes. Yeah.
For those who are not familiar with Upwork, this is a website where you can go and look for people who are doing freelance jobs. And I guess it's mostly about creative stuff like copywriting, writing. Can they get any book covers on Upwork or pretty much
Yeah, yeah, you can get pretty much anything in
everything?
the information economy. So the books and writing and ghostwriting, that's just a small part of
Mhm.
Upwork. They do freelancing for anything, anything that you
Wonderful.
can do from home, accounting, whatever. But
Mhm.
there's a huge niche that's just for writing, just for ghostwriting. So yeah, you can get ghostwriters, you can get book cover designers, you can get formatters, editors, beta readers. Um, anything. The sky's the limit. I mean, if you can hire someone over the internet, there's a room for it there on Upwork. And there's also a bunch of people that do things like book marketing, Facebook ads, Amazon ads, all types of things. So yeah, pretty much. I have found any aspect of the book publishing, the self-publishing space that I need help on, I can always find a freelancer on Upwork. So
On Upwork. And my guess is that Upwork, the level, the quality of the services is a little bit higher than what you can find on Fiverr, which used to be
yeah,
really affordable and not so much anymore.
yeah, that's been my experience. And there's other platforms, right? And there's Fiverr, there's guru.com, freelancer.com. There's other ones, but I've found, and they all have strengths and weaknesses. And it's not that
Mhm.
those other ones are bad, they're great. But is for ghostwriting and writing contracts specifically, I've found that Upwork is by far the best. And, it's just like anything else where you have to be a decent writer, and you have to keep leveling up your skills,
Mhm.
So, and that was the importance of getting this editorial feedback. Every book I wrote, every contract I got, I wanted to make it better than the
Mhm.
last one, So, there's always room to improve, and the better that you get at your writing, and the more they're going to pay you for that writing. And the other thing that I found, which was interesting, is that I found you could be like a just a mediocre writer, but
Mhm.
if you could hit a deadline, if they gave you a deadline and said we need 10,000 words by Friday, or we need 50,000 words by the end of the month, or whatever the deadline was. If I could make that deadline, they were always very impressed with that. And so a lot of ghostwriters, a lot of freelancers kind of have a reputation of missing deadlines, and I didn't like that. I kind of want to change, the industry. And so I would try to not only meet the deadline, but I would beat the deadline, and kind of impress them, and then I found if you could meet a deadline, they would always rehire you, so.
Wow, you are already giving us so much value and so many tips because actually today we can talk about ghostwriting from, I mean, two different perspectives. Ghostwriting can be an amazing additional revenue stream for an
Yeah.
author, just as you said, while you're not waiting, but while you are working at marketing your books.
Yes.
Um, but then on the other hand, I interviewed a while ago for the Self-Published Mastery Talks a best-selling author from the UK, and
Mhm.
he writes in the self-help genre, very
Okay.
hands-on how to do stuff,
Yeah.
and he's hiring people to write those books for
Yeah.
him, ghostwriting. So it can go, both ways. You can decide to be a
Yes.
ghostwriter, or you can hire a ghostwriter to help you expand your self-publishing empire. So
Yeah.
since you already shared a little bit about your experience as a ghostwriter, let's talk first about ghostwriting as a potential additional revenue stream for authors,
You bet.
and also like an opportunity to learn and become better at their craft.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where should, first of all, have you noticed, are there any genres that are really popular right now where people are looking for ghostwriters?
Yeah, as far as the genres, I'd say there is always a market for any genre. Um, Even the nonfiction books. I've done some nonfiction, but I specialize primarily in fiction,
Hmm.
and thriller and mystery and sci-fi and fantasy. So there's always if you can write it, if you have a passion for a genre, you can find it on these freelancer platforms. Now, the biggest two that I'd say right now that I see are the biggest is cozy mystery. That's very popular right now. So if you like writing cozy mysteries, you can find a ghostwriting job pretty easy. And the other one is paranormal romance. That's another very big one right now. And the romance genres are always very popular and very prolific. But right now, the paranormal romance, for whatever reason, is pretty hot. So those are the big two that I see. And with a ghostwriting career, like let's say you don't want to write paranormal romance or you don't want to write cozy mysteries, but that's the only job you can find, you have a decision to make. You can keep looking for something else, or you could take one of those jobs, learn how to write that genre, get paid for it. And then that puts it on your resume when now you've got a book completed. And then that increases your chances of getting another genre that you like, so those are the two biggest genres. And that's a way to increase, so if you want to get your resume out there and get stuff completed, that's a way to do it.
And what kind of people are hiring right now? Because
yeah,
if you like to write, let's say, in a genre that is also popular in terms of people looking for ghostwriters, why not just go and publish the book under your own name, right? And then somebody else.
Right. Yeah. Good question. Yeah. So the overwhelming majority of people that are hiring right now are other self-published authors. Right. So these are people who have a pretty established fan base. They have a pretty established, maybe they have a good series going, or maybe a couple series, and that series is very popular. And the author just can't really keep up, and the fans are wanting more work. That they're wanting, the fans literally will buy faster than the author can produce. And so that's why the author will turn to someone like me and say, hey, I have to get more books out in this series. Can you write this series? And I say yes. And then it literally doubles the speed of which that author can produce books. And this is especially helpful when the author has multiple series. That's what I see the most, is the author wants to spend their time writing this series and they hire me to write another series. And that way they can continue to meet the needs of their fans and kind of goes like that. So that's usually been my experience. There's other people, I've had other clients and that sorts of things, but most of the people that I work for are people who, self-publishing authors who already have something established. And that's why it's great. And the question of why don't you publish your own stuff? Again, I do have my own stuff, but again, as I build that stuff out, it just takes time to see a return on that money. So I would rather, over here in my spare time, I get to write, I get paid for it, and I get paid right away. So, and to build my author business, I started off and then I realized, okay, I really want a good website, and I did some research and I found out I could do this really good website. I'm not a tech guy, so I need to hire someone to do it. And I could do this really good website for about $2,000. And I was like, I don't have $2,000, but okay. So I just went and I got another ghostwriting job and I did that. I finished that book in about 6 weeks and boom, I had a book. I made multiple thousands of dollars, and then I was able to hire and build my website, right? And I did the same thing with ads, or I need to pay for a book cover. So anytime in my writing business, and I don't have the funds to promote my own stuff, I just go back to this and get more money coming in. So,
so where does someone who wants to become a ghostwriter to support the other career, like their own writer? So where is it a good thing, a good place to start? And do you recommend hiring someone like you to show them the ropes?
Yeah. There's a bunch of different options, and you can always just jump in and figure it out. If you're a writer, you can figure it out. you don't have to work with somebody like me. You don't have to hire a coach. Now, the decision to hire a coach like me or not is just how long do you want to spend learning the ropes. And for me, it took me a little over a year to figure out all the little business things about how it works. Oh, this is how to get the contract. This is how you talk to your client. Business types of things, and communication. How do I communicate and how do I get the sale, right? So that took me a couple years to figure out. So what I've done is I just put all of that into my coaching system. And again, you don't have to hire me and use a coach. You can figure it out on your own. But what I always say is if you want to take about 2 years off of your learning curve, you can hire me and I can show you the ropes, and I can, instead of making all the mistakes yourself, you can just learn from all the mistakes I made, right? And so what I did is, people started asking me for help. They're like, "Hey, Cody, can you coach me to do what you're doing?" And so I had enough requests of that I eventually put together a course called Ghostwriter Pro. And it's a 6-week course. And not only do we do work on writing, but generally this needs to be for people who already have an understanding of writing and how to write a book, right? Most of the course focuses on the business aspect, the communication aspect to the client, and figuring out how do you become a writer? How do you take a writer and make them into a business person that has that knows how to get clients and land clients? And the whole goal of the course is this. I say, you can work on your own schedule. You can write in the genres you love, and you can work with higher paying clients. So that's always what I recommend for people to start with. It's just the system. It's just what I've learned over the years, and I just teach it to everybody else because I really believe, and I want to up the skill level of all the ghostwriters out there. And I want us to be professional and good business people. I want us to have a good reputation. So that's kind of what I teach. So, and to check that out, you can go to ghostwriterprofessionals.com. That's where you can sign up for my course.
It's on the screen right now. So
perfect. There it is. Yeah. Look at that. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. It sounds amazing because I have to say I have an account on Upwork, and that's easy. You write up your profile and your expertise, but then how do you get your first gig? That's the big thing when you don't have yet testimonials from other people. So how did you land your first gig, by the way?
Yeah. So it's easy to start Upwork, but it's difficult to land that first gig. So what I did is I did my first couple jobs. I signed up for everything, and my goal was to write thriller novels, right? That's what I do now. I specialize in thrillers and mysteries. But it took me a while to get there. So first, it wasn't even fiction. It wasn't even novels. It was just anything. So you're right. You have to build up your resume and build up your portfolio and get those reviews back from a client. And so you got to start with you got to start applying for smaller jobs that can be done very quickly and low priced. So I did jobs that were like copywriting a website or SEO or a blog post. I did a lot of blog posts, 500 words. I could do it in a day, just really quick. But they're very low paying, and that's okay because I didn't care about the money yet. I just wanted good reviews and build up that resume of having completed contracts. So I even did some work for free. I don't recommend all the time that you do work for free, but starting off with, there were some key contracts. And I remember one. There was I wrote. It was about 10,000 words. It was a lot lengthy part of a book. But I said I can do this for free. And she ended up paying me $20 for that, right? So that's a lot of words for only $20. Right?
I agree. I have to agree.
Yeah. That's not even the math. Yeah, that's like it's like for free. But my goal was to complete that project, and she loved it, and so she gave me a 5-star review, right? So I had a job on there of writing a book for a 5-star review. And that's how I started off. And then, so once I could get my skills out there and I had some reviews, then I could start charging real money for it. And the other thing that I did to start off with is when I made an application, when I applied for a job, I always sent a sample of my writing, even if they asked for it or not. I was like, here's a chapter of my writing of this type of book. And that people always called me back, and they were like, oh, thank you for, so the proof is kind of in the pudding. And if you provide your written word out there, they can kind of see. So there's lots of other little like tricks and intricacies of how Upwork works. And I teach people how to do that sort of stuff. So you just kind of got to build. And then at some point, then you just have to be confident enough to say, okay, this is what my writing is worth. And this is what my skills are worth. And this is my price. And then you just negotiate. And then as you complete more at that price and you get better, then you can raise your price a little bit. After I do so many books, I can say, and little things like when I wrote a book for a client and that book for him became an Amazon bestseller, that was pretty cool. So then I could put that in my resume. I've written for an author that became an Amazon bestseller. So little things like that, you continue to increase your prices. So, yeah.
What would be the average time length that would take for someone to make real money on Upwork from the moment they sign up? If they do the kind of work you just recommended.
Yeah, it's so hard to say, but that's the easy. It depends, right? That's the easy answer, right? But that's not helpful. But I would say for the people, I've had people sign up brand new on Upwork and they take my course. They take this 6 weeks, and it kind of gives them a head start, And if they take that, usually in 2 to 3 months, they can get they can make some I would call. I don't want to say full-time money, but it could be full-time money.
Okay.
And the reason that's tricky is because it depends on how fast you can write a book, right? If you can write a book of 50 to 60,000 words, if you can do that in a month, then boom, you're there. But some people that might take them 2 to 3 months to write that amount of words. So it just kind of depends about how fast you can write and how much time you can put in your schedule. And the other thing I would say with that, again, there's no guarantees, but that also is just, that's working during your free time. That's working day and night. I mean, that's just when I started, I was, I didn't watch TV. I didn't do any other hobbies. I didn't do anything. I just wrote on the keyboard all the time. And for the first 6 months on Upwork, I wrote an average of 117,000 words per month for 6 months, so that was, not everyone has to do that, but that was what I was willing to do to get those books out and to raise my prices. So it just kind of depends. I've had people come in, they've been on Upwork, they take my course, and after the 6-week course, they've doubled, tripled, and in one case, they've quadrupled the rate that they were getting prior to the course till after the course. So that's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So when somebody is hired on Upwork, basically a ghostwriter is hired to write an entire book, right? I mean, they won't hire someone just to, because otherwise I think the book will go nowhere.
Yeah.
If they worked with several people.
Yeah, generally, you're hired for a book, and you always agree on the word count. Is it a 70,000 word book or a 50,000 word book, whatever. So you generally do a whole book. Now, the only other thing I've done is it is possible where sometimes a client will come to me and like they hired a ghostwriter and they only wrote like maybe 10,000 words and then they quit or something, or they had to fire the ghostwriter. And so they'll come to me and say, hey, I've got a book started. There's like 10,000 words. Can you pick it up and finish it? And I've done that quite a few times. But usually the end product is always, a finished book. At the end of my contracts, I give them a book they can publish. Yeah.
So let's say for a 75K word book.
Yeah.
What would be a typical deadline? So what would be the deadline that would give you, and what would be a fair price to ask?
Good question. So 75,000 word book. Generally right now, what we're seeing is that clients expect you to deliver about 10 to 12,000 words per week. So, 10,000 words a week. So if it was a 75,000 word book, that's 8 weeks maybe, right? Now, if you can write a little more than that, if you can write 15,000 words per week or even 20,000 words per week, it's just, fine. You get paid. It's just a matter of how fast you can write. But generally, I'd say 90% of all the contracts out there, I see clients, they need someone to deliver 10 to 12,000 words per week. So, and sometimes it's less, but that's the majority. The rates that we see for a beginner level, it's very common for like 1 cent per word. Okay. My first book that I got was a half a cent per word. Okay. So yeah. So, and I made like $250 for the book. I thought I was rich, right? It's like, oh, I can't believe someone's paid me to write, So a half a cent per word or a 1 cent per word. It's pretty easy. Pretty much anybody could get a book for 2 cents a word. So in that range, up to about 2 cents per word is pretty common. You could show up to Upwork, and if you can write a story, you can make 2 cents per word. But again, that's just the low end, right?
75,000 2 cents per word. That would be.
That's like, I got to do my math here to make sure I'm right.
Yeah.
So like 75K times 2 cents a word. So that's $1,500,
$1,500. Okay.
Yeah, it's $1,500, but how long is it going to take you to do that? It's great, $1,500. But for me, what I did is I was able to just find out some tricks and some things that I wanted to really over deliver, write really, really good material. Yeah. I always took the editorial feedback, when they say, hey, you should fix this and make this better. I was like, okay, that makes me a better writer. So every book I was able to increase, and on a whatever end, you can get to where you are making 6 to 8 to 10 cents per word.
Okay.
Pretty fast in a couple months. If you could work at it. So let's say you've got 6 cents per word, right? So let's say we got still that same book of 75K times 6, that's $4,500, So, and then if you were able to land that for 10 cents a word, that's $7,500.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And so that, that's when you start to go, okay, that's some real money. If I could whip that out in a month or something, then that's when you have some cash to go. Yeah. And so I've been able to, I've been fortunate enough to go way beyond that. It took a little while, but I started at the half a cent per word, worked up to 2, worked up to 6, 8, 10, 12 cents per word, and even more, so not all of mine are more than that, but some are, so when you're thinking of that, especially as a side business, and if you can write fast, if you can dedicate your time and get those words out, that starts to motivate you. That's real money. You start to go, oh, okay, how many of these can I do per year? Like that sort of thing. So,
maybe if you can do one a month, well, I mean,
that's something,
that's something. Yeah.
Well, so that's where I saw the benefit of it. I was like, man, if I can make that type of money doing what I love and getting better at my craft, all while I support my own author career and my self-publishing career, so that's how it worked for me.
And the other thing is, like, look at Cody, because once you get really good at something like he's doing at ghostwriting, then that's something you can turn into another revenue stream, and you can help other people to learn how to do it. And this is what he's doing. So that's amazing.
Yeah. It's worked out pretty good. I love writing. I don't know why, but I just love writing. I can't not write. And I not only do I love writing, I love talking about it like we're doing here. I just love it.
As you can see. Yeah, that's okay. Now let's put ourselves in the shoes of someone who is an author and who has the money, obviously, although as Scotty said, you can start by hiring people who are not necessarily at Cody's level, but who are just entering the market, so you can pay a little bit less if you don't have the budget, but clearly you have a budget to pay those people. So what kind of author do you think, okay, you already mentioned those who already have a established following, and they need to crank out books really quickly. But other than those people, who would be a good candidate to hire a ghostwriter to boost their self-publishing career?
Yeah, great. And what we see all the time is new authors, right? New authors that come in, because we know what the self-publishing industry, right? You're probably not going to make any money with one book. my experience and what we see with a lot of authors, you usually don't start to be profitable until you're like at book 3 or 4, right? So writing a series, so having a strategy of writing a series is incredibly important. So let's say your goal as the author is to make a profit, and you have to write 4 books in your series to do that, right? So if you write 1 book a year, that's a long time before you're going to make any money, you know? So, or you can do what we call a rapid release schedule, is where you're going to spend some time, and on the front end, you're going to write 4 books as fast as possible. And so you do the outline, and you have this 4-book series, and you start writing book 1. And while you're writing book 1, simultaneously, you hire a ghostwriter to write books 2 and 3. And then when you're done with book 1, you write 4, you know? So then, and if you can do a book in a month or 2, then in a month or 2, you can have 4 or 5 books by hiring a ghostwriter. So, you know, it just quadruples your speed, so that when you release that book in a couple months, then you can release the next book 30 days later. Sometimes people even release them like 2 weeks later. And you have this rapid release schedule where you release book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4. And that builds a lot of momentum for your self-published career. So when you're brand new and you have no email list, you have no fans, no reviews, no nothing, speed is the most important thing. So to get multiple books out there very, very quickly and utilize the momentum is just absolutely crucial. So hiring a ghostwriter just helps you get started. You know, then you've got 4 or 5 books, and you've got an email list, and you've delivered as a consistent author. Then you can back off that pace a little bit and kind of write your own books, or you can keep hiring the ghostwriter and write fast. It's up to you. So the writer who is just beginning their author journey and you don't have a following, the ghostwriter is key, because you can get more content out there and use that momentum.
Wow, I've never thought about it, but thank you.
Yeah.
I might think about it. I have a trilogy coming up, a women's fiction trilogy. It took me about 7 years to complete that.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of lazy. I didn't
Right. Well,
really.
yeah. We're
But
all like that. Yeah. It's hard.
so
Yeah.
how do you vet? Obviously, you know, if you go to a website like Upwork, you can see all those testimonials from other people. So that's always a good place to start when you pick a ghostwriter. But typically, how else can an author vet a ghostwriter who is a good fit for the genre and the personalities? Because I think you have to kind of connect.
Yeah, you have to communicate and connect. Yeah, so it's a great question. So I would recommend, especially at the beginning, don't hire a ghostwriter unless you can spend some time with them over a Zoom call or something like this. Like all of my clients, I don't work with any client who doesn't have time for a 30-minute video call, you know. So if you're wanting to hire this ghostwriter, like you said, the relationship is huge. Like we have to work together, right? And if I don't gel with you, if I don't connect with you right away, a lot of times the projects don't work. So don't be afraid to ask to get on a Zoom call. So not only are we communicating with our messages, but you want to see the person, you want to talk to them, read their body language, and you can just get a feel like, is this somebody I want to work with or not? So that's one thing I always recommend, you know, get a video call. And a lot of ghostwriters won't do that. They don't have to, that's fine. But when you, especially when you're learning, get on a Zoom call, right? And the other thing is that I would not hire a ghostwriter who doesn't have like a solid process, of how they write, you know, like, you don't want to hire a ghostwriter and the ghostwriter says, oh yeah, I just wing it, I just write a book, you know. That may be fine, you know, but that might not work for you, you know, especially at the beginning. You want somebody, you know, who says, there's 3 steps or there's 4 steps. First, I do an outline, then I write a first draft, then I write my second draft, and then I developmental edit, and then you proofread, you know, like, they have to be able to articulate what the process is, because a good book is built in stages, as you know, and you have to revise and edit. And, you know, so make sure they have a process that they can communicate. It's a 3-step process or a 2-step process or whatever, instead of they just say, oh, I wing it, you know. So, and the other thing is just make sure that the ghostwriter wants to have a collaboration back and forth, you know. So like if you were my client, it's very common where I would write a chapter and I send it to
Mhm.
you and you give me your feedback. You know, hey, this is good. That I like this about the character. I don't like this. Okay, noted. Then as I go forward, I will implement those changes, or the first act or the first half of the book, whatever. So those are the things I would say. Make sure the ghostwriter will get on a call with you. Make sure they have a process that they can articulate, and make sure that they want to have a collaboration. So that way, because at the end of the day, it's your book, and the ghostwriter
Yeah,
has to deliver your book, and that takes a collaboration back and forth. So those would be the three main things I would say.
that's amazing. And again, if you want to learn more about it, then definitely talk to Cody. Take his take his online course. Well, that's for you if you want to become a ghostwriter. But he's a coach, so you can always hire him. And even if you decide to hire a ghostwriter, and he can give you more details.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Anytime, anytime.
wow, that's so what's next for you? The summit is in full swing right now, so people can still
Yeah,
go to the page and sign up and get access
yeah. The
to it.
summit is the Ghostwriter Summit is
Mhm.
going. You can go to the page to access the summit is sixfigureghostwriter.com, and and we're having a good time of just talking with different people, and just having lots of interviews and lots of good conversations on the whole ghostwriter topic. A lot of stuff on how to be a better writer and level up your craft, and how to be a better business person and level up your business craft.
And I'm excited to be part of the summit. We had
Yes,
a
yeah,
very interesting conversation about branding, because
yes,
branding is very important for you, whether you're a ghostwriter or an author or both. The way you present yourself to your
yeah,
readers or your clients can make
yes.
you or break you. And we had an interesting conversation about that.
Yeah, it was great. Your interview is coming up in a couple days, and it's going to be great. So yeah,
Yeah, so you will, if you go to selfpublishingmastery.com, you will find a link to the summit and more details of how you can sign up. And yeah, it's been an amazing experience. And if you are interested in learning more about how to brand yourself as an author, come to us and we can definitely help you. What else is coming up, Cody, for you in your business until the end of the year? Will you have any special offers? Christmas, Black Friday, all those
yeah. We
coming up.
definitely will. We're getting a good response with the Ghostwriter Pro course, so I know I'm going to run it again before the end of the year. We just finished one a couple weeks ago. We're launching the next session will start at about mid September, so we'll probably have a few other ones in there. I've got my fiction series of a action thriller series that launches in October. So I'm kind of excited for that. So, and that'll be under one of my pen names. But yeah, I'll share with everyone when that's coming out. So those are the big things I got going on. So
Wow, that's amazing. And yeah, sharing with people and helping them achieve their writing goals and their
yeah,
business goals ultimately. That's always such a big endeavor and rewarding as well to see others succeed. And I know you put a lot
yeah,
of heart and passion into what you're doing,
yes,
as everybody can see and tell. So thank you so much for being with us today.
yes. Thank you, thank you. This is great. I love talking about it.
Yeah. So thank you, Cody, and we'll see you sometime soon.
Okay.
When you launch your next course, or you have like a major breakthrough in your business and more tips to
Yeah,
share. And
yeah,
thank you all for being here with us today. Self-Publishing Mastery Talks will return again next week with a new guest and more interesting tips and advice on how to write, market, and self-publish your book. Until then, happy writing and happy self-publishing. Bye.